Donald Trump today admitted that he messed up badly in the war against Iran, but before that he managed to rudely insult his partners, including Ukraine. The day before, Trump stated that the US does not need help from Ukraine, which has already sent military experts to the Middle East, and, importantly, interceptor drones to protect American military assets in the region from attacks by Iranian drones. The countries of the Persian Gulf are trying one after another to sign contracts with Ukraine in order to get protection from Iranian drones. Moreover, today even the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, sent a request to Ukraine for negotiations with Zelensky to discuss cooperation on intercepting Iranian drones. But Donald Trump brazenly claims that America has the coolest drones in the world, and he doesn't need any help from Ukraine. But it turned out to be a lie because the Secretary of the Army, Dan Driscoll, admitted that the US has already sent 10,000 Ukrainian-designed interceptor drones to the region. But that's not all. Donald Trump managed to insult European partners, saying that they are cowards and that he no longer needs their help in the war against Iran. And today Trump publicly asked China, France and Japan, South Korea and the United Kingdom to send their troops to unblock the Strait of Hormuz. I'm Alexei Pechi, let's discuss this together. But before we start, please subscribe to this channel, give it a like and leave any comment under this episode. And also subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pechi News, the link is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as it comes in. So, before we start this episode, I want to share with you an inside scoop that shows just how much Donald Trump's self-confidence is about to start collapsing. The publication Axios previously reported that on Wednesday, March 11th, there was a call between the leaders of the G7 group. And during that conversation, Donald Trump, with a straight face, told the leaders of other countries that Iran was about to capitulate. He said, "We've already won. We're just waiting for them to capitulate." The other leaders, primarily the Europeans, responded that they could, "Wait, hold on. How can they capitulate if the war is still going on? And it doesn't seem like the new leader of Iran, Mojtaba Khamenei, is even hinting at any kind of capitulation. And overall, the Iranians are acting like they're not ready to capitulate yet." But the fact that Iran still hasn't capitulated, Donald Trump seriously explained by saying that everyone in Tehran was killed and there just aren't any leaders left alive, with the authority to announce a capitulation. He says they've already lost, we've already won, it's just that there's no one left there to come out and say we surrender. A quote from Trump, "Nobody knows who the leader is, so there's simply no one who can announce the surrender." This was literally on March 11th. But today, Trump truly surprised everyone. The President of the United States stated that the United States of America no longer needs Ukraine's help to counter Iran's attacks. According to him, this is due to the expectation of a quick end to the war with Iran and the sufficient defense capabilities of the United States. A quote from Donald Trump. "The war with Iran will end soon, so we no longer need Ukraine's help in fighting drones. The United States has enough military capabilities to counter aerial threats on its own. We know more about drones than anyone else. We actually have the best drones." But of course, Trump can make such bold statements knowing that, in reality, Ukraine has already helped. First of all, the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, stated that Ukraine sent its specialists to the Middle East to train military personnel in the Gulf countries who have come under attacks from Iranian drones on how to repel such attacks. The first group of Ukrainian military personnel, along with equipment, interceptor drones, electronic warfare systems, and so on, was sent to the Gulf countries back on Monday, March 9th. And secondly, and this is the most important thing, the White House clearly did not coordinate what should be said publicly. While Trump is saying that we don't need any help from the Ukrainians, we have super drones, we can handle everything ourselves. At the same time, according to U.S. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll, the U.S. Army has already sent 10,000 interceptor drones developed in Ukraine to the Middle East. Driscoll said in an interview with Bloomberg that the AI-based MyROPS drones were sent within 5 days after the start of the US-Israeli operation against Iran on February 28th. The MyROPS drones were developed by the defense company Project Eagle together with Ukrainian specialists starting in 2024. As Driscoll said, MyROPS drones cost about $15,000. but Driscoll said that larger orders could bring this price down to $3,000 to $5,000 per interceptor. That's cheaper than Iranian Shahed drones, which cost at least $20,000. So basically, the US is protecting its bases with a Ukrainian development, but Trump confidently claims that he doesn't need any help from Ukraine. I'm just amazed by Trump's audacity and cynicism. I mean, he knows about this perfectly well. He knows that Ukrainian specialists are already in the Middle East, that Ukrainian interceptors are already helping. And he says, we don't need any more help from Ukraine, we have super drones. It reminded me of a time when Fox News seriously showed on air how their drones, supposedly their American drones, shoot down Shaheds in the air. Then it turned out that this was a video of Ukrainian interceptor drones, Wild Hornets. So later on Fox News, they apologized on air and said, yes, we passed off Ukrainian drones as American ones, this is the same story now. And you know, it's such cynicism. Today, Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, sent a request to Ukraine to hold talks with Zelensky to discuss the issue of Iranian drones. The publication Ynet notes that the Israeli request comes against the backdrop of Ukraine's extensive experience in intercepting Iranian-made drones. Therefore, Netanyahu intends to support Israeli-Ukrainian cooperation on this issue. The Ukrainian ambassador to Israel, Yevgen Konichuk, confirmed that the Israeli Prime Minister made such a request and talks are ongoing. The conversation will happen soon, but due to time constraints, the conversation has not yet taken place. That is, Netanyahu admits that the Americans are not exactly helpful when it comes to intercepting Iranian drones, and it is necessary to work with Ukraine. But for Trump, such help is supposedly not needed. Moreover, I would like to remind you that Middle Eastern countries are now massively turning to Ukraine for help in fighting against Iranian Shaheds. In particular, as of today, such requests have come from more than 10 Middle Eastern countries. Among them are Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and so on. Ukrainian defense companies note that their phones haven't stopped ringing with requests. Today, there was news that Japan is also saying, hey listen, let's also try to be among the first to sign contracts with Ukraine for these interceptor drones. Here's another point. Also, let me remind you that Ukraine has sent its first group of specialists to the Middle East for drone interception. But that's not all. Trump didn't just lash out at Ukraine, he also lashed out at his European allies, and here I won't go on for long. I'll just quote one telling episode, and everything will become clear. On March 8th, Donald Trump confidently declares, "The United Kingdom, our once great ally, perhaps the greatest of all, is finally seriously considering sending 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East. Prime Minister Starmer, we don't need them anymore, but we will remember this. We don't need people who join a war after we've already won it." That was on March 8th, and just 6 days later, on March 14th, Donald Trump declares, "Many countries, especially those that have suffered from Iran's attempts to close the Strait of Hormuz, will be sending military ships together with the United States of America to keep the strait open and safe. We've already destroyed 100% of Iran's military potential, but it's easy for them to send 1 or 2 drones, drop a mine, or launch a short-range missile somewhere along or in this waterway, no matter how badly they've been defeated." Now comes the most important part. I hope that China, France, Japan, South Korea, the United Kingdom, and other countries affected by this artificial restriction will send their ships to this area, so that the Strait of Hormuz will no longer pose a threat from a country that has been completely decapitated. In the meantime, the United States will relentlessly bomb the coastline and constantly destroy Iranian boats and ships. One way or another, we will soon make the Strait of Hormuz open, safe, and free. Come on, Donald Trump, you can't do that. Well, first you shout to the whole world that you don't need any help from the United Kingdom, you try to humiliate the British, and then you say that you hope that the same United Kingdom will still send its warships to help you. So make up your mind. On March 8th, you didn't need British ships. You said, we don't need that help anymore. We've already won on our own. And on March 14th, you say, I hope the British will still send their ships to help us because I don't think we can handle it ourselves. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. Friends, if you found this episode useful or interesting, you can support our channel's work with your donation or sponsorship here on YouTube. All the links and details are in the description of this video. I would appreciate your support. That's it for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.